Hello and welcome to Iron Dinos. This is the Dinocast with me, Shaun, and I'm here with Jason.
Howdy.
And I'm here with Adam.
Yo!
And we're going to go through last month's Games of Gold, the upcoming month's Games of Gold, other games we've been playing, things we've been watching, TV, movies, and whatever else we've been getting up to. But before we go into the upcoming month's Games of Gold, which is usually the start, this month Xbox released a statement saying that as of October there will no longer be Xbox 360 games included as games with gold. What do you guys think of that news? I'm guessing that means
shocked.
we're going down to 2 games rather than 4 for a start.
Not necessarily. Maybe they'll only release Xbox One S games or something, or One X games or something else. The future games. I don't know. This is the very first I've heard of it, so I don't know. I thought they were doing quite well out of the 360 ones, to be fair. It's digging up stuff that I hadn't played before. So
they said something weird about... I didn't quite understand it. It was something to do with capacity, but I think it's more I think it's just basically speak for... It's not really worth doing anymore. Like it's so fucking miserable. Like, not to get on my soapbox here, but every time they do the announcements, I follow them on a couple of social media. It's just full of pricks going, "Oh, these Xbox 360 games are rubbish." Just fuck off. They're giving you a free game, you twat. Why would you complain about that? I don't know what the fuck's wrong with people. Miserable bastards.
Before. People, these young ones these days, they think they're not free. They think they pay their gold for it and their Game Pass for it. And to be fair, they probably are. But you had to pay for it before you got those games. So yes, it's a free game. That's the way I see it. 4 free. It used to be 2 free games. Then it was 4 free games. Yes, I'm paying a fee, but that was just for the maintenance.
Technically, it's 2 free games this month because I've already had Saints Row 2 and Monaco. Mild spoilers there before as games of gold.
Hey.
But I'm not going to fucking complain about it. Other people may not have. Quite right.
I mean, I can understand both points of view, really. I really enjoyed the Xbox 360 games, going sort of retro and all that. That was quite good. But I can understand that they're sort of running out now, like, because they're not really making any Xbox 360 games anymore. So at some point they are going to run out, and if they feel like they've run out of games to put up and they're just repeating themselves, then they're going to move on to sort of more up-to-date games. So I can understand it, but I am sort of on the side of, well, I really did enjoy playing the Xbox 360 games, so I don't know, I'm a bit 50-50.
I don't care.
Not every single game that's up on the Xbox 360 storefront has at one stage or another been free. You know, like most of the Assassin's Creed games haven't been on this for free. There's still plenty of scope for them to continue to do it, if they did so choose.
Yeah.
I don't know, quite a lot of them have been for free, actually.
I was going to say, yeah.
I've got most of them. Several of them were just through the games.
It may be a case that I just didn't bother downloading them.
2 was free. All of the 2D ones are free. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind if they just said the announcement was, don't necessarily have to do the 360 games. If they just said we're going to release 4 games, I know they might be saying 2 now, but if they were going to continue with 4 games, it could just be any 4 games, don't matter what. Xbox One, Xbox, original Xbox, Xbox 360, whatever. Just put 4 free games up a month, and I don't care where they come from. We could put 4 brand new ones up.
I liked more original Xbox games, personally.
It's always a bit hit and miss anyway, because it's that case. You got to get the right balance of, if it was that good a game in the first place, you may well have bought it when it came out anyway, and then people will go, well, everyone's got this game, so why are you giving us this one? And then, so you don't want like a AAA game, unless it's like an old one, and you don't want. And people don't want some obscure thing they never heard of, although that's quite fun as well. That's kind of the best ones as far as I'm concerned.
That's the stuff I look forward to.
Oh, they're the best ones, yeah, because
the stuff you
find a little gem,
but might be good, yeah.
It's like a little gem you'd never think of picking up before, and like you start playing it because it's free, and you're like, oh, damn, this is actually really good. I'm really enjoying this. So yeah, there's been a lot of those. Don't get me wrong, there's equally been ones that you pick up and you go, what the hell is this? I think, was it Swim Sanity comes to mind, but yeah.
That was terribly disappointing.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's I think I'm with you, Jason. I think if they don't necessarily have to do 2 Xbox 360 games, they can just release any 4 games, and then if they think of a Xbox 360 game that they would like to release, then they can just release it. But
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
it wasn't mentioned in the memo in like the release, but I'd be very surprised if we're sticking with 4 games. I'd very much imagine it's going to be 2 from October. I might be wrong, but you never know.
I only doubt
I
that
would
because
be surprised.
don't PlayStation now do 4 games a month? Because that seems to be... They've now set the standards that you have 4 games a month, so everyone should have 4 games a month.
I don't know.
So now every because you get these channels which just compare the Xbox and the PlayStation free games every month, and surely PlayStation's going to win forevermore if it's got double the games. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, PlayStation are going to run out pretty fucking quick because they just refuse to do backwards compatibility at any particularly acceptable scale. So
This is very true.
Maybe they've had a backhander from PlayStation saying, "Look, don't do your old games. We'll put us on a level playing field. It'll be fine."
Okay, you're not going to pick that up then, Jason. So, Jason, but what are this month's games of gold? We could have sat here all day waiting for Jason to finally actually kick off the first segment.
I hate this. We need to rehearse our handovers more because I never know when to kick you.
I was waiting. I was like, should we say something?
Yeah. But what about this month's games with gold? It's August. We've got 4, count them, 4 new games with gold. They are Calico, Scourgebringer, Saints Row 2, and Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine.
Wow.
Starting off with Calico, which weirdly enough popped up on some channel I was watching recently, or like in my suggestions of things that I might want to watch as a gameplay video thing a little while ago. And I was going to suggest it to you, Shaun, as a animal-based game to play. Calico
I thought you were going to like out me as a furry then or something.
You can appreciate animals without being a furry. Not saying there's anything wrong with being a furry. If you want to be a furry, not in this weather. Jesus, it's too hot. But anyway, Calico is a day-in-the-life community sim game where you run a cat cafe. You can create a character, complete tasks and recipes, which is quite cute in the way they do that, and adopt animals and decorate the cafe. I was not initially drawn to the art style of this one. I did not like it. It seemed to be a bit off. But the more I've watched it, it's growing on me. I don't think it's super cute. It seems a bit not my style, but I think that might be the character creator and people are making dodgy-looking characters. But I've had a little look at the gameplay, and this could be that type of game I like playing on a Sunday morning. If it's like a little short story, and you can build up your little area and go and do your tasks and make your recipes and stuff, and play with cats and decorate a house, then that could be mildly entertaining for me for a day or two. I don't think I'm going to be drawn into this forever, but I think I'm looking forward to this one and giving it a go because it could be up my street.
Now, before these games were announced, Adam explained that he's away the first week of August, so has asked me to do the Games with Gold video. So now you know what's coming next Monday, guys. I have not looked up anything except about Calico because I saw, you get to play as running a cat cafe. Fucking sold. I'm entirely into it. I cannot wait to play with all the cats and get all of them in my cat cafe and love all of the cats. It's going to be wonderful. I love cats.
It's almost the perfect one for you to take over while I'm on holiday.
It pretty much is. And the thing is, the other one at the same time is Saints Row 2, and everyone knows I love Saints Row, but nah, cats beat Saints Row.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one in a curiosity sort of sense. I think it's definitely targeting a certain age group, which is absolutely fine.
Yes, 42-year-olds.
I don't think it's what you think it is. I think it's just mid-30s people, to be fair, 40s. I think there's a lot of market for this sort of
I
relaxing
think there's a. I
community
think this has a
gameplay.
broad appeal, but I think it has a broad appeal through age groups, but quite a niche kind of person.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
am
okay, we'll
squarely
see
in that
that.
category somewhere. I'm somewhere in there.
It looks like it's got some fun mechanics in there as well that you can play around with. Lots of things to do and see. So yeah, it could hold my attention for quite a while. But if you are interested, this was first released on December 15th, 2020, published by Whitethorn Games, and the devs are Peachy Keen Games.
And the next game is Scourgebringer. It's a pixel art
Scourge
roguelike.
or Scourge?
See, this is what I was thinking about before we started, and I still say Scourge. Scourgebringer.
It's fine,
Sc-
but I'm a Scourge rather than Scourge.
Okay, if we can do it from this way from now on, I'll say Scourgebringer, and then you afterwards say, like a little, you can say Scourge just afterwards. So I'll say Scourgebringer. You say?
Potato.
Lovely. Right, Potato Bringer. It's a pixel art roguelike platformer. It looks like it might be fun. I think this is more like, this is the thing that I thought this was your type of game, Shaun, when I saw this. I know you're not necessarily roguelike-y person, but in terms of as it plays, I thought this might be more up your alley. It seems to move quite well. It's that pixel arty type thing. I think if this was a platformer, which is a platformer, if it was like a standard platformer, then I think this would be very much your thing. But maybe I'm wrong.
I've already played about 3 hours of this. It is very much my kind of thing, and it was on Game Pass for quite a while.
Okay. So you're doing quite well this month then in games that you want to play. It's just unfortunately you've played them all. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay, Adam. Any opinions on this?
Oh wait, I thought you were going to finish. Oh, I've got more to say. Yeah,
Okay.
it's that roguelite thing that's the reason I didn't play more of it. I don't like that. I like a fixed experience. I really don't enjoy the. I really don't enjoy the having to restart and all that stuff. But it plays wonderfully. It's got it's not so much platforming. It feels more like kind of keeping your character off the ground. The combat is more heavy than you might think, but it's like lightning fast, and you've got all of these, you've got light and heavy attacks, and you build up to heavy attacks, but you've also got, whatever you want to call them, minor magical abilities as well, and stuff like that. And, what I played of it, I thoroughly enjoyed. It was just the lack of... I get to a point with these games where I get sick of the fact that I don't feel like I've progressed enough, and then I lose interest because I want to feel a continuous progression without having to fucking restart every time. Or at least if I'm going to restart every time, I want it to be the same so I can learn. So yeah. But otherwise, it looks lovely and it controls lovely. I don't know if
There it
lovely is a way to end a sentence like those, but it's out there and that's what we've done. It's very hot again. I'm tired and it's hot. I want to play the cat game. Adam!
Yeah, this, when I first saw it, I immediately thought, okay, this is Shaun's game, for starters. I quite like this type of game as well. And then I saw roguelite, and I was like, I was quite disappointed because I get really frustrated with roguelites, for the obvious reason, because you have to start all over again. You've done all that hard work and built up your character and all stuff like that, and now you got to start all again from scratch.
Same.
People love that sort of thing. I hate it. But in terms of the actual game, as Shaun said, it looks fantastic. Nice art style. Looking forward to giving it a go at least once or twice. But if you're interested, this was first released on 6th of February 2020. It's quite recent. Published by Dear Villagers and Plugin Digital, also by Eureka Studios and Intra Games. The devs are Flying Oak Games.
Yeah. Sorry, just before we move on, that's something I did look up and I meant to mention to you, Adam. This is the team behind Neurovoider. Remember that?
I thought it might be. Yeah, it did remind me of that. I was going to mention it, but I thought maybe
Yeah,
not.
that was Flying Oak Games.
I enjoyed that game. But again, that roguelike did piss me off to the end, to the point where I've actually now deleted it off my Xbox. Yeah, it just, you get so far building up your character, and then it's just like, you make one mistake, you're dead, and they sort of say, oh no, right, start all over again. It's like,
yeah.
I haven't got the hours for that.
The main mechanic of Dead Cells is, Dead Cells is a phenomenal game, but the entire mechanic of that is you're supposed to get to an end point, beat a boss, and then restart the game, and each time you get to that ending you progress slightly further towards the great bad guy, and each time you go round it gets harder. And that was great until I might have mentioned this on the podcast before. I found myself sitting there for 20 minutes just resetting the game because I didn't have a weapon loadout I like, because I found one I really enjoyed it, and I'm just like, why the fuck am I wasting my time not even playing the game but just trying to get a weapon loadout? And it killed it for me.
I can definitely see that. Like, I think it's the main issue with that type of game. It's very much a Marmite type of game, isn't it? It's either you love it, like being able to start again from fresh, or you absolutely hate it. So yeah, up to you guys.
Leave it. I don't think it's my type of thing, to be honest. But yeah, as you say, people do like that sort of thing. That is the style of the gameplay. So that's what people are going for, or some people. Someone must have liked Rogue to keep going doing it all the time.
Yeah, it's Binding of Isaac. Because it's an old genre, like Smash TV. I guess you could call. I think you call Smash TV was to a degree a progenitor of this genre, whatever you want to call it, because that was somewhat procedurally generated and was the same kind of thing. You would keep going, but you didn't. It didn't have the RPG elements. If I recall correctly, you could get bigger guns, but they had finite bullets and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a beloved genre for those who love it, and to me, it's an eye roll and an annoyance because I want to like the game, but that functionality just bugs me.
I'm with you on that one.
Anyway, Saints Row 2.
Another fucking procedurally generated roguelike. Oh wait, no, it isn't. No, it isn't at all.
It's an open world third person action game. They used to say knock off GTA, but no, it went its own way. And in this one, it's going a bit more its own way. It's not quite wacky superheroes yet, but it's getting there.
GTA. This one's still knock off GTA, but it's moving more in the direction of what it become. 3 nailed it. And then 4 went mental, and I loved 4. But I think 3 was the sweet spot, but 2 is definitely shifting in that direction. Sorry, I've taken over, Jason. Jason, continue.
Okay, this game takes place 5 years after the last one. Your gang, the Third Street Saints, have lost their territory, and they've got to take over Stillwater and get it all back, and stuff like that. Basically just take over territory to shoot people, beat people up, run around, do silly things, dress up your crib, all that sort of thing. Drive cars, be funny. I thought I played this to the end. I watched a thing earlier of this last mission, don't remember it at all, so I probably didn't play it to the end. I did own this. I do still own it, in fact. It's probably behind me. And seem to remember enjoying it. It took me a while to get into, as did the first one, but once I got into it, I quite enjoyed it. So I don't know why I must have stopped, but I will definitely give it another go this time around. Generally quite like it. My issues was always that I used to play GTA all the time, so I was more sort of into that. I knew how the cars moved and everything, so it was a big jump to suddenly do this one, and it doesn't sort of auto-aim. You have to sort of free-aim this one, which is not something I tended to do. So that was my main issue to start with, but it's got a lot of stuff going for it, and I do love an open-world game, so I'll definitely give it another go and run around doing missions. Having fun. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably... Well, let's put it this way. I've had it as a Games with Gold for a long time, and I've never got round to playing it. And in that time, I have replayed the remastered version of Saints Row 3, and I have played 4 again on the Xbox One. So it's probably again that this one it's probably that it's slightly too old. Why wouldn't I play 3 instead of this? And it's probably that it was still a bit too GTA-y for what I was wanting. Which is nothing against GTA. They do what they do very, very well. But I want something with more personality and more fun and more stupidity in that kind of game to keep my attention. You could probably blame that. You could probably knock that back to that Assassin's Creed game I hated as well. Because it kind of destroyed that kind of sandbox game for me as well. I really stopped enjoying them so much. Just in general after that. But yeah, there's still plenty I've loved since, so it hasn't completely killed it. I love the Saints Row series. And I have the new Saints Row pre-ordered for the end of August, so, you know, I'm going to play that instead of Saints Row 2, I imagine. But I will chip away at it a little bit and see if it hooks me in, because you never know. Like, I want what they're bringing to the table.
Adam?
Yeah, I think this is the one Saints Row game I've played already. And I think I played it with John.
I say, Adam's about to say we did it in co-op, and then Jason's going to say, no, this doesn't have a co-op, and then you're going to read it and it's the Torchlight all over again.
No, it's not co-op. Yeah. No, I played one with John, who's an old Iron Dino member, and I can't for the life of me remember if it's 2 or 3, but it looks very familiar, and so I'm thinking it definitely is 2. However, I really like Saints Row games. I think they're a lot of fun. I quite like the fact that they take the piss out of the GTA games, and I find that very funny. And yeah, I do like an open world, so this is probably right up my alley. So I'll definitely be playing this one, and maybe in 3 years' time, because of the very limited time I have, I'll actually complete it. However, if you are interested in this one, it is first released October 17th, 2008, published by THQ and Deep Silver, and the devs are Volition.
THQ.
Oh, I can't pronounce that one.
Volition.
Move on.
So the last game, and it's a 360 game, is Monaco. What's yours is mine. This is a top-down 8-bit style stealth action heist game, and it can be single-player or multiplayer, I know that. And it is basically it's got 30-odd levels. You can go full stealth, you can go total chaos. It looks like a lot of fun to me. It's apparently a good co-op game. When I very first saw the advert, I thought it reminded me of The Escapists, and it kind of went off on a tangent of, it's about a heist, and it's a bit more frantic and I think less prep and more... So this could be fun. I think it's another one of those that I'm going to want to play on my own before I do anything co-op, because that's me, just so I know what I'm doing, and then maybe I'll play it co-op with you guys at some point. But we'll say it looks like a lot of fun running around heisting on various places and sneaky. I like all that. I think I can do that. Sounds like fun. What about you?
Yeah, this is a genre that had a nice renaissance and exploded in popularity for a little while, and has carried on ever since. Quite a very famous one, Hotline Miami, kind of exploding, and that's the one in this, that's kind of revamped it. But no, these games are quite fun. It's quite probably again some got roguelike elements, so it might not be my kind of thing that I finished. But I was playing one. There was one on Game Pass a little while ago that basically was for all intents and purposes, it was a combination of all the sci-fi you really like, quite lazily cobbled together, but it was enough of all of the sci-fi I liked that I played quite a few hours of it, which was about progressing through the levels of a big sci-fi tower, and that was really fun. But this is a game type that can be an awful lot of fun, or also very, very frustrating. And having a look at the trailer before we started this, it looks like it's going to be more on the fun side, especially if you've got a couple of people. Again, this is one that that I've had as a Game Pass game before, and I've always meant to play. It sat on my Xbox One for the longest amount of time, and I did download it for the Xbox Series X when I got it. But I've actually never taken like 5 minutes to play the bloody thing. So maybe this is the time. Well, I'll have to play it this month to be able to talk about it. So finally, Monaco, what's yours is mine. You will be played by me, and hopefully I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm never too sure about these sorts of games, whether I'll get on with them or not. It's very it is top-down view, but it's very sort of 2D-ish, and yeah, I don't know. I'll leave this one up for judgment once I play it, because I've not played too many of them. But this one was first released on May 10th, 2013 for the Xbox. The devs are Pocket Watch Games and Sickhead Games. Published by Pocket Watch Games.
That's our opinions of the Games of Gold for August 2022, or the initial opinions. What we hear now, we hear our better opinions next month when we know what we're talking about.
And in the videos we release throughout the month.
No one watches those. Right, it's all about the podcast. Dinocast.
Sorry, just in case we didn't mention it, Calico is August 1st to 31st. Scourge is August 16th to September 15th, so that's the one that will go into next month. Saints Row 2 is August 1st to August 15th, and Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine, is August 16th to August 31st. And there are 3,400 gamer score points up for grabs.
So that was last month's Games of Gold.
No.
Here, what we want.
That's the upcoming month's Game of Gold.
Damn it! Shit. I've lost my mojo. This was going so well. So that's the Games of Gold for August 2022. But what of
Good save.
July? Shaun, what of July?
The first game, or out for the shortest period, 1st to 15th, was Thrillville, Off the Rails, which I did a little video with Adam. I very much enjoyed watching his video. I did not go back and play anymore because not my cup of tea. So I'm going to throw over to Jason. Well, Adam will have the most to say, so we'll pass to you, good sir.
Okay, well, we play a lot of these management sims, and quite often
you guys
they're a bit of a chore. They're a chore, and they're quite often a chore just because I know I don't want to play them, and I know we're going to talk about them, so I feel like I have to give them a chance, and knowing that and trying to get to know them and get all the little intricacies of how they work is often the bit I don't want to get to. Anyway, this was much better. I didn't feel rushed going through it. It was you could literally just play the mini games for most of it. I was immediately drawn in by the music and the characters. I like designing my own character. There's not a lot to choose from, but it was fun doing it. And yeah, it gives you a tutorial, but you don't have to do it immediately. You can just mess around and build stuff and play stuff and go on little mini games. And I think all the mini games are quite fun. And I'll be honest, I've not gone back. I did go back a couple of times, but I've not really put any effort into the actual management sim part of the game. I just like testing stuff and messing about, really, which is what I can't often do. I often find with management sims, you just sort of rushed and being nagged by various people to do stuff now, and that's what I don't like. And I'd much rather just piss about in a park, really. And that was what I could do. So probably won't play it again, but of all of the management sims we've ever played, this is by far the most entertaining for me and enjoyable.
Yeah,
Adam.
No, what you say on that is very true. I do actually wish I'd found the time to to play a bit more of this, because I could have run around the fairground and actually had a lot of fun doing the mini game stuff. That looked really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't have that time, so yeah.
This is probably by far one of the better management sort of sims in terms of theme parks games that I've played recently. But there was, I can't quite put my finger on why, but there was something a little off. And the mini games though, that held me. That is the one element, the one key element that held me. The fact that I could actually run around the park and play all these cool little mini games, and when you like progress to the next park, you get a whole sort of new set of them, and then you could play around with those and try and get the best score and all that. And yeah, that definitely held me. But there's something about the whole management side of it that kind of put me off slightly. I can't exactly tell you why, but I don't know. Something personal for me. Probably nothing to do with the actual game. As I say, the whole management side of it, the menus and the way it explains to you and all that is very, very clear, very easy to do. The art style is very pleasing, but for me personally, I don't know. There's just something slightly off. But I have gone back to it a fair few times, mainly to try and beat the high scores on all the minigames, and to do the roller coasters and stuff like that. I quite like, because with this as well, it's got a really fun element of it tries to teach you how to build a roller coaster that's fun, but not going to make your guests throw up. Whereas you can go completely the other way, which is what I did a few times, and just make it unbelievably unrideable to the point that people come off absolutely throwing their guts up. So that's quite fun as well. Just see how many people you can get to hate your ride. But yeah, there's a lot of wacky elements in it. I think in the video there was one of the roller coasters where there is no end to the roller coaster, so you just fly off the end, and all of a sudden a parachute comes out and you float down to the ground. I thought that was very fun. I thought, like, if that was actually in real life and they could actually make it safe, I'd so go on that. That's excellent idea. But yeah, there's a lot of wacky stuff in it, and by far probably the best management theme park ride game that I've played in recent times.
Wonderful. And then we move on to Beasts of Maravilla Island, the photography game that honestly was much considering the budget they had and how clear it was that they were pretty structured, and whoever's dumbass idea it was to have that kind of weird, whiplashy story that made no sense at the beginning. This was tons of fun.
Get over it.
Oh, it was so bad though. It was so stupid. It didn't work. But this was lots of fun. I mean, I dug back into this a couple of times, just because I wanted a more chilled time with monkey birds and weird bugs and stuff like that. And I think this is a very, very good game. Definitely, it's almost certainly something I wouldn't pay for, but I'm very happy to have got it for free. It's still on my Xbox, and between the other things I'm playing, when I've got a couple of minutes, I quite like to just pop in there and walk around and be filled with a sense of wonder, as I can just swan around and see what interesting new thing there will be to look at. Jason, what do you say?
I agree. I think it was a lovely little game. It is the sort of game, it takes a few hours to play probably. I think I played it all within a weekend, finished the whole story, went back, did a couple of the achievements I hadn't done, then started playing it again a little bit just to see other things. But yeah, it was... it's quite fun. It's very charming, I think. It's a nice little island. The animals are quite fun to look at and to do the behaviours. I think when I first heard of the game, I thought it might be a bit more puzzle-based. it wasn't really. It is much more of a just explore an island and photograph some things and check things off a list, which is fine. I think it's if you go into it expecting a big physics puzzle game, then you're going to be disappointed. But if you go into it expecting a nice, calming, relaxing jungle adventure, then I think you'll be fine. There's a very light story to it. But it's mostly about just chilling out, taking pictures, and exploring. And that is what I got from it, and that is what I enjoyed. So, yeah, I like the characters. I like all of it. It was, yes, I liked it. Is what I'm trying to say. Basically, it seems like forever ago I played it now, but yeah, it's it's I probably won't go back to, but the time I spent doing it was a nice, enjoyable weekend.
Did you 100% it, or did you just get from the start of the game to the end and just took the amount that you'd done as fine, or did you go?
Oh, no, 100% is it.
Yeah,
I didn't move on to another level until I'd completed every single thing on that level, and then there was maybe 2, possibly 3. It must have been 3 because I think the last achievement is to get all the achievements. So it must have been 3 achievements I hadn't got, and then I went back and just played enough to get those. Yeah, I think there was 1 spider I couldn't find, which is a problem, and then it was take a couple of photos. Other than that, it was really. It was nice, and I enjoyed going back and playing it again and finding out that sort of stuff. Weirdly enough, it's quite a linear game, but I still managed to get lost a couple of times. But it's quite charming. Obviously there's a nice little message to the story about looking after animals and don't mess up the world and stuff, and listen to your granddad. I don't know. It was good.
Don't listen to your granddad.
Oh, don't listen to your
But
granddad.
then immediately change your mind and take all the equipment required to have listened to him. That's the message of the game.
Do you think this was written by a committee over several rewrites and things? Do you think that's what happened? There was a whole backstory.
I think this was written in somewhere like Eastern Europe and poorly translated.
Ah.
This is probably where it was made.
Possibly. It was made on Maravilla Island. I like the way there was combining the animals like in a sort of Wuzzles kind of way. There's a reference for the past.
Did you say Wuzzles?
I did say Wuzzles.
Yes, he did.
I believe they've made an appearance in one of our videos before.
I think they've made several appearances. They're one of those things that we just randomly mention every now and again. Because they just do that, where they combine names of animals in, like, Rhinoki and Bumble Lion and things. Most of the animals are made up of just knocking together 2 things, like an otterdile or something? Is a crocodile with an otter and that sort of thing. So I always like mixing animals together. It's fun. Go me, my genetic experiments. Love it. I would recommend it, even if it's just for a free laugh.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the game as well. So I really enjoyed the photo aspects, and I actually quite liked the light puzzle that there is to it. As Jason said, there's not very many, but the fact that you've actually just got to sort of stop and think, oh, hang on, how do I get past this? Oh, right, yeah, of course. Yeah, I've got to throw these otter-like creatures something, and I've got to get them a fruit and stuff like that. It's quite fun. It brings the game along, keeps you connected. And funny enough, the spider that Jason missed, I also missed. And when you go back, so when you track back and you realise you've missed it, you turn a corner and there is this massive spider web with this huge spider in it, and you're thinking, how the hell did I miss that? And I think it's literally like the direction you're going. It's obviously above your head, so you don't, unless you're specifically looking behind you and up, you won't see it until you go back through. And I think that's obviously specifically designed that way. So yeah, there's lots of fun little things in there, and I enjoyed going through the thing. I enjoyed going back through the levels to complete any achievements that I'd missed. And it was a really fun little game. Definitely recommend it. You won't regret it.
Banana Bird Studios, who made this, by the way, are apparently located in California in the US. So,
cool.
Honestly, I have no idea why the writing's so bad. It's not really an excuse for it. No, I'm kidding. It was pretty weird, though.
And also, just a reference as well, that was published by Whitethorn Games. And you may have just heard that because that is the new one, Calico, is also published by Whitethorn Games. So.
Oh, yeah, I can see that connection. Yeah, okay.
Which brings us to lauded and critically acclaimed fishing simulator, Torchlight. I didn't get a chance to play this one, guys, so I'll let you take it. Jason, do you want to start?
Are you saying that the video we made and talked over did not draw you into this wonderful game of Torchlight?
Honestly,
dungeon crawling.
It's not that. It's that I've not, like, in my personal life, I've not had as much time as I might like to play, and I've got absolutely, like, massively dragged into something I did play. So I didn't get a chance to play Torchlight, unfortunately. Ordinarily, I'd play everything, unless it's a management sim, and even then I'll play for half hour, but I just did not have a chance to play Torchlight or Thrillville this month. I will do better in future, I promise. I don't promise. That's
oddly enough, I went back to this
lie.
a few times. I said during the video that we made that it was I think I in the video said I might go back for an hour or so, and then I had to go back just to do like get a bit of footage to show something.
Yeah, you needed a bigger fish
for another 3 hours or something, and it was and I played several different characters and tried out different things and learned a bit more about how it should work and picked up some more skills. And the bits that I still not mad keen on having to pick up every single thing I see, but then I've said that in the Lego games as well. I think people like that sort of stuff. I don't like running around picking up all those little things in Lego games and having to bash everything and do that, but I can see why it's enjoyable and why it's part of the game. And similar here, having to pick up every bit of loot and then organise it and sell it and stuff is quite important to the game. It's not my ideal type of game, but I certainly grew to like it more and had a lot of fun with it, I think. And again, it's another one I probably won't go back to, but you know, it was fun while it lasted, and I'm not deleting it just yet because I do like leveling up, and it's giving me that progression that you were talking about earlier, Shaun. You like to feel it's not a roguelike by any means, as far as I know. So yeah, I like to feel like I'm moving on up. I'm moving on up now, and
you remember the different old pop song? I was thinking, moving on up, moving on.
I hate that song. No, not to them people.
Nothing can stop me.
Copyright strike.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on from them people, and the only way is up. No, that's Yaz.
That was Yaz.
All of those things. No, none of these things are about Torchlight, because that goes down into a cavern. You descend. You don't go up. Anyway, yeah, Torchlight was fun. I enjoyed it. What did you think, Adam? Did you think it was all of these great songs worth of...
Well, as this is a game that I've played before with John... Oh, no, wait.
Liar.
No. I made that mistake before, didn't I? No, scrap that. No, this... I did play this one. I did go back to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good. It definitely reminded me of number 2 that I played with John, and I think I prefer 2 purely because you get to play with your mates and stuff, and I think that adds an extra element of fun to it. But the leveling up, and of course the fishing element. You know, I stayed for the fishing, of course I did, and yeah, it's all very good, and definitely recommend.
And that brings us finally to Relicta, the first-person platforming, more puzzle game about a load of sci-fi bollocks, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I've gone back to this a couple of times. There is a mechanic. There is a puzzle I got stuck on quite early on, and I didn't want to mention this, but it's in a section of Adam's video, and he cuts that fucking puzzle out. So I had to go back to it and figure out my bloody own. And he specifically cuts like just before it to after it, and I had to go back and figure it out on my own. I was really annoyed. I thought I was going to cheat while also making a video, but no, I didn't get to.
I'm interested to how you completed that bit, because I really fuddled that, and that's why I cut it out.
I put myself on top of the block and did it enough times that I got just far enough that I could kind of half jump and half dig into the rock and kind of glitch my way up it.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
And then
I don't want
another puzzle.
I don't want to YouTube an explanation. That would be cheating. But if I happen to be making a video anyway and the puzzle just happens to be solved in front of me, you know, that's fine.
There was another one as well, that there was this plate on the wall, and I'm thinking, right, okay, so clearly I've got to put the block on this plate, send the gravity up, and send it off. But the problem was the gate was to the right of it, 90 degrees right of it, and I'm like, there's no way that's going to go through. So I did it anyway, and it bounced off the far wall, off the side again, and then it crept just enough through the barrier that I could actually grab it. And I was like, okay, if that's not such a fuddled way to do that, I don't know what is. But I accepted it, and that's one of the reasons that large bit of the video is cut out.
I tell you one thing I did like about the game, because I did at one point screw myself. And it's either you can either pull up the pad or you can just press start, and you can reset to your the last gate, checkpoint, I guess, the last gate you pass through, which I thought was a really quick and easy way to go, okay, I fucked it, I need to restart, and you could just jump. I mean, it still had to reload a bit, but you could jump straight back into it without having to go through a whole process of going back through the level or anything like that. I appreciated that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there was also elements in, so they used the transporters to that degree as well. So in certain puzzles where you got to use the transporters and the gravity element, if you've overshot the gravity element and you can no longer get the block back, you can just go over to the transporter and retransport the block back to the start.
Yeah,
so
that was good.
That was really good as well.
Jason?
I think this took me a while to get into. And
Took you a while to say. I remember you had a hell of a job figuring out how to say it. Relicta.
There's that too. I like the puzzles. I think I just not that you described it as sci-fi bollocks. I wasn't that interested in the characters or the story. They just didn't. It didn't gel for me for some reason. I didn't like it, and I just kept comparing this game to Portal the whole time and seeing that as a better game.
Well, I mean,
and
that's. I'm not going to say that's an unfair comparison, but when you get that comparison in your head, very few things are going to... I mean, Portal 2 is pretty much the only thing in a similar vein that I would say is better than Portal.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think that's my problem, is I had that in my head from the beginning.
Yeah.
So this wasn't really living up to it. I wasn't really that entertained by the shenanigans on the space station or whatever it is. It was just didn't really gel for me. It was fine, absolutely. The puzzles... I don't know. I just got the overall feeling they weren't thoroughly playtested or as perfectly set up as they could be. It did, like you said, some things are fudged. I didn't have any trouble. I think there was one bit I got a bit stuck on. It took a bit of thinking and looking around and doing it, a little trial and error to solve one of them. I can't think which one it was. But then when I solved it, it didn't feel finessed. It's not perfect. It's a bodge job, but in a nice way, and I think it's a very well put together game. I'm not going to diss it at all. Apart from what I just said, it's not Portal. What I'm saying is, it's a completely competent physics puzzle game. It's not Portal.
It's just not arguably one of the greatest and most revolutionary games of all time. It's just can't live up to that standard. And if it can't live up to that standard, why are we even fucking bothering?
I was very grateful to have it as a free download for the month, and I played it, and I I probably will go back. I'd already kind of I just don't feel the need to go back and play it. I think is the issue. It's not one that draws me in. I've played it once. I kind of didn't want to go back. I then gave it a couple of days, went back, played some more, played a lot more actually the second time. Enjoyed what I played. The puzzle bits, some of them actually they give you that little thrill of, gets working out the puzzle, and that's like the high you get from it, and you go, oh, next one, great. But for some reason, it just never really pulled me through. And I finished an area and went, should I do the next area? No, I'll come back to another day. It didn't really pull me in. So I think it's a decent game. I just
it's perfectly fair. Not everyone
burner.
not every single game needs to knock it out the park, It's it's a great thing that these are free, because you get to try something. You're not always going to like it. It's fine.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's I didn't love it. It's fine. It's fine.
Jason,
needs
more GLaDOS, not out of 10.
Jason, resist the fence. I beg you, resist the fence.
No, this is very much a fence game. This is on the fence.
He found it again. Damn it.
This is very much a grey area fence game of. It does everything right. It's just nothing amazing, I think.
That's a fair assessment. And that was all of July's Games with Gold.
Yeah.
Rat rapping. But Adam, what else have you been playing?
Well, me and you picked up Aragami 2, which...
yeah, we did.
As we are recording this, the video is out. So go watch it. But we picked Aragami 2 up. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I went back to it even after we finished recording it. And I've been working my way through that. That's a lot of fun. That is an assassin game, if you're not familiar, and you get to sort of shadow jump all the way around and do some cool maneuvers in it. Shaun, you definitely picked it up a lot quicker than I did, but once I went back to it, I picked it up and I got the hang of it. But
I think the video is more entertaining for that.
Yeah, that's for sure. When I was editing it, I reluctantly kept a few bits in where I completely messed up, but it was for the comedy factor. But another one I went back to, and this is again because of you, Shaun. Actually, Death's Door. So, Death's Door is a game that I did a video on. I can't remember now. It's a couple of months ago, wasn't it? I can't remember. I did a video on it and I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I didn't pick it back up for quite a while until Shaun mentioned that he was playing for it. So I was like, oh. The other one, I've basically been going back to all the Games of Golds, funny enough. So I went back to Broken Sword.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went back to that because I know, Jason, you said you got quite far with that, even finished it, didn't you? And you said it was quite good. So I thought I would play through a bit more of the story on that one. So that was quite good. That's basically a point-and-click adventure.
That game. So I'm really trying desperately to remember what game we're talking about, and I'm thinking it's some dungeon crawler thing.
Yeah, I was thinking Sacred 2.
Yeah. Yeah, Broken Sword's great, yeah. Love that.
Yeah, it's basically you're a detective. Well, you're not a detective. You're a journalist.
Insurance guy, aren't you?
Insurance journalist.
I think the female. I think it might be a journalist, and he's works in insurance.
Yes, yeah. And you're basically trying to solve a murder.
Sorry, what accent was that?
I tried. I apologise, but I think it starts off with a painting being stolen.
It does.
And it spirals out of control from there. Excellent bit of storytelling, definitely worth a play. And in the same vein of that, and I think I'm almost at the end of it, is The Raven. I went back to The Raven again.
Awesome.
That was...
I really need to go back and play that. Your enthusiasm for that has really sold it to me.
Oh, so good. It really is a great bit of storytelling. Don't get me wrong, there is one or two characters where you go, whoa, what the hell was that? But it's almost in a comical fashion, and you laugh at it, and it brings you along even more. But yeah, that's also a great click and point adventure, and you play as. I'm pretty sure he's just a cop playing as a detective. So yeah, you get to chase the Raven, who is the robber, and he's trying to or did steal the diamond, I believe it is, on the train. And yeah, but other than that, that's all I've been playing. Over to you.
Jason?
Well, I'm going to interject here and say I've been playing a variety of little games, but nothing particularly I've played for long. I played a bit of Manhunt, went back to that because that was on a special deal a little while ago, which is basically a stalker game.
Yeah.
A bit of a, what was it basically? I can't think. What's the term you do for it? Anyway, it's you're a criminal being on death row, and you're released by the director, who has got cameras everywhere, and he's telling you to basically go and kill people, and you have to do that. It's quite a dark game in every sense of the word. Enjoying that, but haven't got very far with that so far. I did get quite far many years ago on the PlayStation, but I'm starting all over again, so we'll see how I do this time. In a completely different vein, I've been playing Power Wash Simulator, which is basically running around with jet washers and cleaning stuff.
I have that to look at.
Quite
actually.
relaxing. It's all right. You do. It's quite. You basically just spray stuff and clean stuff, and it tells you what's dirty, and when you go ding when you get something clean, and then there's like you start with a van or something, and then you can do gardens and sheds and all that business and other bits and pieces, and you can upgrade your overalls and your gloves and your power nozzles and things, and add extra soap and detergent things. So I did worry that like the second level was a garden, and I don't know if I was supposed to upgrade more than I did, but it took me forever to clean that garden, like hours. So I think maybe I needed to add extra soap or something. But it was enjoyable and relaxing, but I needed to go to bed, but I wanted to finish it, so we'll see what happens. But then the main thing I've been playing this month is Fall Guys, which is that's the old game now, but it was released on Xbox I think at the beginning of the month. It's been out on other systems for ages, but I like. So if you have,
you said Fall Guys, right?
Fall Guys, yeah.
Isn't that the game we played a ton of for the channel?
I haven't played
that's
a ton
Human
for the
Fall
channel.
Flat.
Yeah. No, you're right. Human Fall Flat is what I was
Similar
thinking.
Similar movement. Yeah, nothing just started off the new thing and forgotten all about our past games. No, Fall Guys is basically Takeshi's Castle multiplayer game. You starts off with like 60 odd players, and then you're all roughly the same size. You can redress your character a bit, but basically you earn unlockables to redress your character so it looks a bit different, and that's basically how you feel progression throughout it. But essentially you quickly join a multiplayer game, and it will put 60 people in a thing, and it will choose random rounds of either competing for like a race or a survival or something else, and then you have like 4 or 5 rounds and whittling down how many there are, and then you win. And it probably takes maybe 15-20 minutes to do the 4 rounds, so it's quick and easy. If you get kicked out, you start all over again. I've really enjoyed it actually. It is really built for microtransactions, so you have to sort of tell yourself either you're going to go in for that or you're not, and just assume that you're going to miss out on all the fun things that you see or constantly popping up going, it's a new Godzilla costume, I must have that. It's only available for 3 more days.
I was just going to say, I very much hope you're a sensible person and haven't gone in for them, but I know for a fact I'd have bought that fucking Godzilla costume. It's only £2. I'm having that.
It's not just that. That's it. If they were all like, £1, you'd probably feel like I could do that, but they're not. You've got to buy like 15 quid for a season pass or something, or you've got to do £4 or £5 for just one outfit, and you think, is it really worth it? So I can absolutely see lots of kids spending stupid amounts of money on this. Or very
unfortunately,
wealthy business owners.
is a business model these days.
It is.
But
But
we'll
you
release a
don't
game, and
need
rather
any
than
of that.
charging you for the game, we're going to try and milk you at every conceivable fucking turn with, quite frankly, predatory and psychologically manipulative business practices. Awesome.
But to be honest, all they're doing is they're saying, look, here's a fun outfit which will give you no benefit in the game at all.
That's
and
not
no doubt,
all they're doing, though, because there are loads of psychological studies that are telling you exactly what they're doing, and it is, like, actually incredibly manipulative.
well, that's every supermarket in the world.
Yeah,
Just
fair.
don't do it. Be your own person. What it brought back for me was this is the closest it's actually rekindled a feeling from an old game on the Xbox from 2009. And I finally rekindled that feeling. And that game was 1 versus 100. And that was like a live... They used to do this like twice weekly live show, like 7 o'clock in the evening.
I remember it was
and
quite a thing for a little while.
It was. I think it ran for about two years or 2 seasons anyway. And it was basically the TV show 1 versus 100, which is similar to this. It starts with 100 people. Well, it starts with anyone who's logged in. And then of those, 100 people are chosen to be like the contestants. And then one person is chosen to be the person answering the actual main contestant. And then it's sort of that one person versus the others. And then so everyone answers questions. And if you get your questions right, you stay in the round.
But you're all answering the
and you can
same
win.
question.
You're all answering the
To
same
make it
questions.
fair.
And it's a bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The main person has to get them all right. If he doesn't get them all right, he's kicked out. It's all avatars as well. So it was making use of all that thing, and you'd go into like a green room at the beginning, sort of just mill about with other people, and then they start it, and it'd be how like proper presenters doing it, and then guest people and like extra little. It was quite a big show. It was, of all the Xbox things I've seen, it was like the most show busy thing they've ever done. Extravaganza of here's a weekly thing, come and join our show, here's some questions, you knocked out. If you got kicked out, it didn't matter, you could carry on watching it. If you stayed in to the end, you could win a prize. I think I won like a digital game or 2 through it playing. I never got it to be actual in the 100 or the 1, but it was a fun little game I used to play, and that was the game that got me into multiplayer gaming really, because I'd never liked playing with random people, and although you'd never actually, apart from like a little gesture or something, you wouldn't really interact with anybody else in that game. That's probably the game which at least enticed me in to playing on live and playing with other people. So it has that, and I really enjoyed it, and they took it away from me, the bastards. And now I've kind of got that back with Fall Guys, because I can just jump in and out of it. I can go, several days without playing it, or I can just jump in and do a round, or I can do 20 rounds and just like think, I'll just do one more, and then you're there for another 20 minutes, and it's fine, and you might win. I've still not won it. I've still not been the last man standing with the crown at the end. I've been second quite a lot, but I've never been first. It's annoying, but I will get there.
Can I assume in this game that it's not then a case of everyone you're in a game with and competing about are all on their mics talking at the same time? Is it still like a individual experience? There just happens to be all these other players independently controlling their characters at the same time.
You can play it with groups. There are various different rounds. There are co-op rounds. There are squad games and that sort of thing. I have only played it on my own. They're choosing the games that I can play as myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're kind of sometimes they're like split the whole group of you into like 2 parties, and you can kind of have to work together. You don't have to work together. And to be honest, there's been I've seen a few people like take the piss and just sort of block the ends of races and things. But overall, not a lot. Not like in other games I've seen. Most people are kind of swiftly dealt with if they are being annoying, and even if they're being annoying, that's not the end of the world. It's just I'll do another one. All the games do seem to be quite well structured, that they don't really tolerate people being arses that much. So most people just seem to be to win the game and move on and get the next Godzilla costume, basically. But anyway, I've been enjoying that, and it's fun, and it's bright, and it's colourful, and it's for all ages, and it's basically just run things and jump through walls and try and win a prize. But you'll die a lot, and you just don't care. You get up and try again. So that's what I've been playing, Fall Guys, and it's a lot of fun, and I'll probably play it again tomorrow. So yeah, that's my year. Not my year. That's my month of gaming. What about you, Shaun?
Well, most everything I've been playing has been put up on the channel, with one big exception. So we'll have a little look at the list. Disc Room.
Okay.
I keep going back to that. That's a little one I keep going back to and just chipping away at in my spare time, because you can literally just potter into a room, run around it a little bit while giggling to yourself, and then be like, okay, that 5 minutes I had spare is done, and then go do something else. It's delightful. Garden Story, that wasn't quite for me. I played probably about an hour and 20 minutes that I cut down into that video, but that's just not my cup of tea. XO1, again, I keep going back to that. That's a wonderful little game, not at all what I was expecting. And stuff coming up for the channel, because I've bulk recorded a load of stuff. It's what I'm going to start doing now. I'm going to kind of bulk record a load of stuff till the end of the following month, rather than what I have been doing is just getting up on a Sunday. Oh, what do I fancy playing for this Friday's video? Right, that's out. We're going to be playing properly now and giving me more time. So what you've got to look forward to is Bee Simulator, My Friend Peppa Pig, and Pikuniku, which since making the video I've actually completed, and it's an absolute delight. But yeah, you'll be seeing those other three throughout the month. So look forward to those. But the main thing I've been playing off the back of my friend Cormac's, I'd like to say suggestion, but it's almost bullying at this point. And obviously Adam's lovely little video of Death's Door. Now, somehow I'd got from Adam's video, because I didn't watch all of it, I watched a bit of it, and I was just like, I don't know if this looks like it's for me. I'd somehow got it in my head that was a point-and-click adventure.
No.
I have absolutely no idea how the fuck I came to that conclusion, but there it is. So, yeah, Death's Door is a kind of, I guess you'd call it, Legend of Zelda-inspired action-adventure where you go around well, it starts off in an area of the afterlife, and then you're soon tasked with, in typical fashion, going to 3 rather different areas, each of which leads to an additional somewhat different area to fight a boss, and then you've got to come back and carry on over the old ground to make sure that you've achieved the main goal. And basically each time you defeat one of the bosses, it gives you a big new power, or actually usually just leading up to it gives you a big new power, and that obviously gives you more scope to go back to areas you've previously been to find more secrets, to open up more of the game, and like that. It's got a really sweet but simple combat system that I thoroughly enjoyed. I quite luckily actually, I very quickly found the slightly lower damage but much faster weapons, which is a playstyle that I particularly enjoy. So you can level up you can level up 4 stats, but they take quite a while to level up. So I immediately went for speed. So I spent a lot of the game just darting around, just twatting things in the back and then darting away again, which was an absolute ton of fun. Yeah, funnily enough, when Tunic came out, I thought it was one of the most original things I'd ever played. And although Tunic was made by one person, Death's Door did release 9 months earlier, I think, and it does look like a little bit of inspiration has been taken from there, but it seems somewhat unlikely, because Tunic must have been so close to being finished when Death's Door even released. So I don't know, maybe there was a bit of, I don't know if there was some small amount of collaboration there, or it just so happens that they were working in tandem and elements of each game just happened to be quite similar. I'm specifically thinking about the viewpoint and the way that when you go round a certain area, you'll open another area and it will actually flip the whole map round to view it from this different side. It's usually only for a secret or something, whereas in and it was quite similar in Tunic, stuff like that, which I really, really liked as a mechanic. It always gives because it happens so rarely, it gives you a tremendous sense of joy because you feel you found something really special because it's actually moved the wraparound. But the combat system and the quite challenging difficulty is also very much the case in Tunic as well. So yeah, I wonder if there's not some overlap or something there. It doesn't make me think any less of Tunic at all, but it makes me very, very happy I found Death's Door because I've absolutely loved it. I've now beaten the game, and going back a little bit to find all the secrets I can, because it's the kind of game that of course has a secret boss, a little hidden secret, something right at the end, and they make it very, very clear when you beat the game. It's like, it's clearly not over though, is it? So there's got to be something more worth doing, so I'm just going around trying to find that at this point, which is wonderful because I'm going back to levels areas I've already been to, and there's something, I'm not going to give a spoiler here, but there's something you can do to make them appear somewhat different and have different challenges and different things you can find. So I'm now going through that, and I'm hoping that's not going to take too long. I'm about 95% complete, so I'm hoping another 4 or 5 hours I'll have that game beat and safely tucked away, and that'll be really nice. And there's also a fantastic it's a really quite bleak game. Chunks of it are in black and white, and it's all quite miserable and depressing, but there's also like these bizarre pangs of humor. And my favorite boss of the whole thing was the Frog King, and he is this guy who rocks up and he keeps showing up in the level, bigging himself up and just being a dick. And he's bigging himself up, and when you get to the final fight, like with so much of the game, it comes up with like a bit on the screen to tell you where you are, and when you finally get to his boss, it comes up with King of the Swamp, and then that moves and it adds Guardian of the Flooded Fortress, and then that moves, it says Lord of his domain, ruler of all he surveys. Then that moves up and it adds Champion of the People, Keeper of the Five Oaths, and continues to first of his name, second of his other name, he who is without middle initial or mercy, destroyer of all those who would question his rightful rule or look at him askance, eater of the vanquished, devourer of the indolent, guzzler of the non-committal, bestower of wrathful, I don't even know what that word is, opprobrium, and fount of most wondrous beneficence. All glory to him under his mace, holy basher of toads, not frogs, but really what are toads anyway? Like worse frogs, right? Uglier too. Smartest creature in all the land, really clever like that Einstein guy, but more handsome and, okay, hit the word count. Which absolutely goddamn killed me, because there's no other humour quite like that in the game. There are moments, but that just absolutely killed me. And the guy got a couple of hits in because I was laughing so goddamn hard that I couldn't play the freaking game. But it was fine because his boss, but he spends the whole level just bigging himself up. You get all that, and then his boss fight is by far the easiest in the game. Like, there are regular tank enemies I think he's significantly easier than. And there's like weird side characters. Like, there's very obviously a squid that's animating a corpse and pretending to still be an alive human while it's an alien. Like, weird stuff like that in there. But then there's stuff that will really quite make you sad. Betty, there's a little bit to Betty. When you defeat that particular character, if you go back to another area, there's a bit more to that. And then when you succeed, so the idea is that you're a reaper in a land full of reapers, and obviously something's going quite wrong, and you meet this other older Reaper who is trying to open this door. This door has appeared, and they believe that beyond that is the answer to all the questions of life and death. So your main task, the reason you're going to fight these bosses, is to open this door. And a lot of what you get after opening that door is incredibly touching and sad. Very cool. And then the end, the final boss fight is an excellent, incredibly fun battle. It takes through many stages. Really good and compelling. But it's kind of punctuated with an incredibly quite poignant gallows humour, which really got me. I really enjoyed it. I think it was quite, overall as an experience, I think it was quite pitch perfect. It was never too bleak, but it had enough depth there that by the end you'll feel quite sorry for a lot of these characters and their fates. So yeah, Death's Door is still on Game Pass. I've now bought a copy. You know, I've paid for it because I want the studio who made it to get an actual bit of, you know, direct money from me for it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the ultimate conclusion to it. Hopefully it's not too hard, because Christ, some of these bosses and some of these areas are really tough. But yeah, fucking excellent game. Absolutely excellent game.
I think you sold me on it. I think I have played a bit of it, but I was playing several other games at the same time, so I didn't really go very far with it and ended up deleting it because I needed some space. But I think you and Cormac and Adam have now all encouraged me to give it another try. Because I didn't realise it has that appealing. I played the first couple of levels and it was okay, it was fine, but I hadn't really leveled up or done much with it, and I do think I'd liked what I saw. I think I need to find out more. I think I need to give it more time. So yeah, I think you've drawn me in. I'll also play the Raven.
Also an excellent game.
This is what I'm getting from this Dinocast, is new things to play.
And that is everything we have been playing. Just before we move on, because I've looked at my notes for the next segment, that I made one note for all of Relicta, and that is, it really cracks me up when the main character, when you go to the flashback, your main character was talking to her daughter before she's come up to the station where you're in orbit around the moon. And she's just being a dick and uses the insult Orby Boomer, and that really made me laugh. Just the boomer in orbit, that just really tickled me. But anyway, who did I chuck to last time? Jason, what have you been watching?
Oh, so many things. What have I watched? I watched on TV. I've been watching. I saw the end of Better Call Saul. Not going to say anything about it. Just going to say I think it works very well as a prequel. I don't think it would work in its own right as its own series. Nice little story. I don't think it's quite as impactful as Breaking Bad, but Better Call Saul is a lovely introduction to it. Or you can watch it on its own thing.
The thing
and
is,
it all makes sense, and it completes in its own storyline.
Something like Better Call Saul is always going to have that limitation of, you know what the end point has to be, and no matter, you can't do anything too important in it, because none of those things follow Saul into Breaking Bad. It's kind of like my just immediate problem when I started Red Dead Redemption 2. I know you disagree with this, Jason, but it's like, you know the end point to all these things, so how are you going to get attached to getting the beginnings of that, knowing where it all goes? And that's the reason I've not gone back to Better Call Saul, because gone to watch it, because I need to find some way to get out of that mindset. And I'm sure I will when I start watching, because I really like Bob Odenkirk. He's a great actor. He can really draw me in. So, and who doesn't want more Breaking Bad, albeit a prequel? But it's always going to have that limitation for me of, well, none of this is particular. Like, the actual story is Breaking Bad, even though there's probably more episodes of Better Call Saul now, I think. But none of this,
about the same, probably.
but none of this follows him into Breaking Bad. So how important ultimately can it be?
True. I suppose it's the journey. It's all about the journey, how you got there. And he's not the only character, and there's other characters in it that have their own journeys.
Yeah.
And some of which I forgot were in the original one, some of which I thought were in the original one, and then I realised they weren't actually in the original one. They were characters in their own right. And yeah, it gets to the point where it's getting very near the end. You start thinking about, you're watching it and you're enjoying it, but there is a little bit in the back of your head going, well, that character's still there, and they're not in the other series, so what's going on there? But it doesn't necessarily go the way you think it's going to go, so it's fine. I do have a bit of an issue with the ends of every single series or season of Better Call Saul, which is the last episode is always much more relaxed than the previous one. It's a bit like the Game of Thrones, where they do the massive second to last episode every season, and then you have a more relaxed one. And sometimes it gets to the end, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was the end. I've got to wait another however long. So that was my only issue with it. I do need to go back. I either need to go and read a lot of online chit chat things, or I've got to go back and watch it again, because there's certain elements of it which I thought were leading to things which never happened, or maybe did go there and I just completely bypassed it. So there's some things I want to look into again. I'll probably watch it. I think it's probably a more worthwhile series than El Camino was. I think that was entertaining but not unnecessary. This was...
I felt that was mildly damaging.
I would say damaging in the sense of how you're left feeling about something, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
I don't think it's a particularly bad thing on its own, but it's like it had, when things have a good ending and then they just keep going, and then you go, well, what's the point? We had a nice ending that I was happy with, yeah. And
sorry if this is a spoiler to anyone from a very, very old show. The spoiler is incoming, and it is a fucking big one. I don't see why El Camino felt the need to confirm Walter had died. Like, it was likely,
I suppose, yeah.
But and obviously that's the end point of the show. The idea is that Walter finally got his just desserts, his comeuppance, but he also didn't go out the monster that he never intended to become. He set Jesse free, and that in a way was some small redemption to the just awful things he'd put everyone else he knew, including Jesse, through. I just felt it was a completely unnecessary it's just a completely unnecessary addition to take away a mild vagary that you kind of left with at the end of Breaking Bad, because it could have been that the cops were getting there as he appeared to be going, so they could have got there in time, and then who knows, but maybe that was an intended choice of, look, we're not doing any more Breaking Bad, although the irony being that this is more Breaking Bad, but we're not actually doing anything more with Walter, so he is off the table. That is a big rubber closed stamp on that. I don't know.
Fair dues. Anyway, I'd recommend it. Good show. Good show. What else have I been watching? I watched The Outlaws, BBC sitcom. Well, not really a sitcom. Comedy show. Black comedy show, I suppose. I mentioned it the first season last year, which is about... It's got Christopher Walken in it and Stephen Merchant and an ensemble cast of various characters. And I said last year it's a weird mix of comedy and drama. It's not... when watching it, it's absolutely fine. It's only when I think back to it and go... I swear most of these people are just playing this as straight drama, and then there's like little comedy elements that just sort of occasionally occur. But it works at the time I'm watching it. But when you then think about it, it's basically a straightforward crime, quite dark situation. It's mostly about drugs and gangs and that sort of thing. It's enjoyable. It's funny. It's throwaway stuff, but I enjoy it. It's got a nice group of characters. Nice little plot. I don't have to do a third season or not. So I suppose they could do. I honestly thought they could have ended it off the first season, and what they've done with the second one, they've actually expanded it more than I thought they would have. So good on them for that one. I have got back into Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I kind of started years ago and then drifted off, and I'm now up to. I've just finished season 7, which is the Fat Mac season, I think.
That is great. That whole, Fat Mac.
So
is
I now know what you were talking about with that.
hilarious.
Yeah. So I
fucking
am
bin
just
bag
about
of
to start
burgers.
season 8. Yes. And so, and the last two things I'll talk about is both sort of event TV. One was last night, which was the Women's World Cup, no, not World Cup, Euro thingy, which I happened to catch. Well, not catch, I planned to watch it. I recorded it on my Skybox or whatever. I planned to watch that, and then didn't know the result at all. And in the end of the evening, I thought, I'll watch that now, and then put the Skybox on, and where you go to tell you you're going to play your recordings back, it said in bright big letters, "Congratulations, England's Lionesses, it's come home." But I kind of told myself throughout the game that maybe that was just well done getting to the final, and maybe they hadn't won. So I watched the whole thing, and it was enjoyable. That was fun.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic game.
I'm not a huge football fan, but I do tend to watch big matches, particularly England ones. And I enjoyed it. It's entertaining as much as football is to me. And it's nice to see people getting involved and happy and that sort of stuff.
I think this will kick on women's football a lot, especially in this country.
I would have thought so, yeah.
I mean, the amount of attention that the final got, I really hope that carries on into the actual league as well. Some of the players as well. Sorry, just to mention Beth Mead winning the Golden Boot as well. That was actually fantastic. Just the whole team was absolutely fantastic. I thought Frank Kirby in midfield played really, really well. Jill Scott, one of the only members of the last time we played Germany, who beat us in the final. She's the only surviving member, so she got her revenge on them, which was quite a cool story. And then Millie Bright and Lucy Bronze in defence, absolutely solid. And then Mary Earps for goalkeeper, absolutely fantastic. The whole team absolutely played fantastic and deserve every accolade they get.
And they just seemed like nice people at the end. And they won. They was all having little interviews and dancing about and singing and generally just pissing about and having fun like a group of friends rather than some co-workers. It was quite nice to watch. And it's the first time, and I'm an old man now. I wasn't there for 1966, but I have been following Baddiel and Skinner's song career since 1996, I think it was. And this is the first time they've played that song, and it actually it finalised it.
Yeah,
yes,
actually meant something.
So that's one event thing, and the other event thing, very sad, but not that sad, because it was the final week of Neighbours, which I haven't watched since possibly the 90s, but it was coming to an end.
Yes.
The final week. So I thought, I'm going to record it, and then I started watching them. And yeah, the storyline's still pretty crap, but the nostalgia factor was just all over the place. It was so many there's lots of flashbacks, there's lots of sentimental things. They spent the week filling out this, because for some reason the plot was everyone's moving out of the close. I love that they made the joke about it's not a street, it's a close. They go, Ramsey Street is a close, why is it not called a close? Anyway, but apart from that, some little girl points it halfway through. So everyone's leaving, and that's part of the plot, and there's a big wedding going on of old characters, one of which is Toadfish, if you remember him, and the other one is Melanie, who I'd completely forgotten about, but when I saw her from the 80s, I was like, oh, I'd totally forgotten about her, but she was a good character. But generally speaking, it was really... It was a nostalgia fest, basically. It's not great
good.
TV, but it was great a moment in bringing back memory lanes, because that was on pretty much every day or twice a day, if we count the repeats, for 5 days a week throughout my entire school life. So that's pretty much just got stuck in my head, that theme tune, that show, those characters, what they were getting up to, hearing about Mrs. Mangle and Jim and all that business. And so they got all the old people back. It was weird watching, because they got like the main, I don't know if you guys are that familiar with this, because I'm slightly older than you guys, but they do comment on it at one point that there's the Four Musketeers, where you've got Kylie, Jason, Guy Pearce, and the girl that plays Plain Jane Superbrain. Basically, got the four characters: Scott, Charlene, Mike, and Jane. Seemed a bit obvious to me they weren't all filmed at the same time. Guy Pearce was never in the same shot as Jason Donovan or Kylie Minogue, despite them standing in a group shot.
To be fair, they all had varying levels of careers.
Oh, I know, but I'm watching it and I'm thinking, because Guy Pearce was in it quite a lot. At the end, that's a couple of episodes, and then Kylie and Jason turn up, and you're thinking, they've turned up as everyone's left for the wedding, so they're just filmed on their own, and then they're standing on a balcony away from everyone else, so clearly they're not with everyone else. But then they meet Jane and Mike, who's standing next to Jane, but Mike sort of stops for a minute to talk to someone else as Jane goes and meets them, and then Mike walks towards them, but you're not in the same shot, and it's all that sort of thing. And then later they're all standing in this group shot with Harold and
Harold. I remember
That's what I was going to ask.
Harold and Paul Robinson. Harold did it, yes.
Lou?
He's back from the dead. Harold and Paul Robinson are in the middle of this group, and on one side is Kylie and Jason, on the other side is... Sorry, I'm giving the real names there. The other side is Mike and Jane, and basically they would never have the Guy Ritchie, not Guy Ritchie, what's his name? Guy Pearce. He would never be in the same shot. They'd have to sort of pan over and then to stop at Jane, who would look to the right, and then it'd cut to the shot of him with her looking at him every single time. So yeah, clearly there's some contractual.
Pans over slightly further, and Madge is there as a the Force ghost.
She was there as a Force ghost. This is not a joke.
No.
There's a bit at the very end where Susan Kennedy is like doing this monologue and walking around looking at everyone, and then she starts thinking about the old people, not the old people, but obviously people who are actors are still alive, but the characters died, and she looks at this table with Harold sitting at it, who is alive, and next to him on 2 or 3 chairs is dead characters as Force ghosts.
It's amazing. I might watch this now.
We've got to watch the whole week for the drama. Oh my god, the drama that doesn't really go anywhere, but it was fun. It was a nice ending. It was very sentimental. It brought back a lot of memories, and yeah, I'm glad I watched it. It was fun. I did watch them out of order though, because obviously things won't go right. So I watched 5 episodes. I watched episode, I think 2, 3, 5, 1. No, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5 is how I watched them. So Force Ghost is like watching Star Wars. It's just different order of the whole lot. It's good. I'd recommend that. And then, I'm going to talk about something else. Yeah. So that's Neighbours. Last thing I've seen, which I watched last night, and you guys may or may not have seen it, was The Grey Man. Have you seen that?
No, but I've heard enough to be interested.
Yeah, it's all right. It's another one of those Netflix films which just, I think, checks all the boxes for what it needs to be: an entertaining thrill ride of a non-stop action, funny film. It's basically Ryan Gosling is a ex-criminal, he was in prison. He's released from prison by the CIA to work in the Grey, so he's working for them but not really for them, as like an assassin. And then cut to several years later, things go a bit weird, and now he's on the run, and they get another guy to go after him, who's Chris Evans, who doesn't play by the rules and will do anything. And it's it's funny, it's action. I haven't got any problems with the story. You got Anna de Armas in it. It's quite a big character as well, and very entertaining. I had a good evening watching that. It went really fast. I would recommend it.
Adam, what have you been watching?
So it's probably a bit of an old one for some people. I don't know, but I've finally started watching The Flash.
Oh,
and,
well, you'll be pleased to know that was a few hours before going live with this recording. That has been cancelled. They're going to have a 9th and final season, 13 episodes. So there is now a finite amount you can watch The Flash. You know there's an ending to it.
Cool. Well, I'm only at the end of season 1 so far, so so yeah, I'm enjoying it. I know it's very silly. Out of all the sort of comic book stuff that I've seen, this is probably by far the silliest, but I'm enjoying it. It's a fun silly for me, and I think Grant Gustin is his name. I think it is. Yeah, as playing the Flash, I think he does a good job, especially for how they've done the story and
now,
some of the other.
I'd slightly break this show for you, right?
Oh God! I'm enjoying it, right? You realise this, right?
Yeah. This isn't a spoiler or anything like that, but when you notice it, you can't unsee it, right? The Flash, the fastest man alive.
Apparently,
next time you're watching an
so I'll
episode,
find out.
Notice how long it takes for Flash to be momentarily distracted, turn around, and the villain has gone. And instead of going, well, I can run nearly the speed of light, there's no possible way these people on foot can be more than about 20 yards away and running around the block a couple of times. He instead goes,
chase them.
I'm sure they've got away. No, there's no possible way. I mean, as soon as they're out of sight, they cease existing.
I did notice that. I did notice that, and I laughed at it.
It's like a goldfish.
So it's probably early on if you've watched the whole thing, but there's a girl with meta power where she can warp to places as long as she can see them, and she breaks a boyfriend out of prison, and they're going through a tunnel, and the Flash manages to stop her by smashing all the tunnel lights, so it turns all dark, she can no longer see, so therefore she can't warp away. And he stops the car, and as he looks in the car, the boyfriend's not there anymore. So clearly, he's running away currently, right that second, in the dark.
Yep.
This is the Flash. He can quite easily just probably zip around that whole tunnel and go, oh, look, there you are. But he doesn't. Yeah. He just goes, and it's not damn, even... that boy got away.
Well, I can't. It's dark. I might smash into something. Literally, lightning appears around you as you run.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, no, I did enjoy that very much. I enjoyed the bit where it crossed over with Arrow.
Well, that's something I was going to ask. Did you watch Arrow first?
I did. I haven't finished Arrow, but I got up to the point where it did cross over with the Flash. Yeah.
Yeah, because that ends with him getting in the accident. That's like a two-parter that ends with him getting in the accident that leads him to become Flash, and then the pilot for Flash starts a little before that, and
that's
then
it.
catches up to now because it needs to set its things. I tell you what, the Firestorm arc in season 1 is fucking terrible.
Oh, the Firestorm.
Caitlin's
I'm on.
boyfriend.
That's the one I'm on. Yeah, that is the one I'm on. Yeah. They've just re-emerged. They've just re-merged together, and now they're running off somewhere to help themselves. Yeah, that's where I'm up to.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
So,
like I said, I like the first season of that. It was good, clean, silly fun.
I tell you one character I do like, which brings up the whole show for me, is the character. Vibe, played by Carlos, is it Valdez? Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. You know, he's like the engineer, isn't he? He's the scientific engineer. Just his whole character, his humour around sort of naming all these metahumans sort of a superhero or villain name. I quite like that. I quite enjoy that.
Which, to be fair, are mostly from the comics.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. It's just a fun way to bring a lot of those cheesy old names into thing by having a nerd name them and be like, yeah, all right, fine.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying that. That's been very good. As you heard earlier, though, I watched the England, so I won't comment too much about that. But yeah, I thought that was no. As anybody can mention it, it's England. I mean, come on. Yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic. The only thing I forgot to mention was the manager, of course, Serena. That's 2 times in a row now. She's won it with 2 different countries, so clearly she's doing something right.
Clearly, she's some kind of traitor.
I believe we stole her before the final of the last time. Who was it? Was it Finland? I think it was Finland.
We made a video.
Yeah. So yeah. She. I believe we'd already secured her services before the final, but she couldn't come over until she played the final, and then she won, and then we got her. So yeah, but yeah, absolutely fantastic, really well done. But the other thing I've been watching, which you can currently watch now as it is going on, is the Commonwealth Games. I've been watching the Commonwealth Games with very close attention. I'm fully into my sports and stuff. I don't know if you guys are.
Not so much.
No.
If it's on, I'll watch it, but I haven't sorted it out yet, and I'll probably get to the end of the week and go, oh yeah, that was on. I'd maybe catch a bit.
Well,
I'll watch the highlights.
You'll be pleased to know England are doing well. Alex Yee got our first gold medal in the triathlon. I tell you, the triathletes, wow, the things they have to go through. I mean, they got to swim, bike, and then run. I mean, that's just superhuman efforts right there. I mean, even if I could complete one of those, I'd probably try and give it a go. But no, I wouldn't. I'd like collapse halfway through, I think. But yeah, that's absolutely fantastic what they do. But some of the other highlights, we got Jessica Gordon-Brown got the weightlifting silver, so that was really good. England, they won the men's team gymnastics, so that was really good. I think the women did as well, actually. So that was also good. The gymnastics, Jake Jarman, he got. I think he's up to 3 golds now. I think there's a possibility he could actually get 4 golds, and he's only like 20 years old, so he's doing absolutely fantastic. PT is a name you might recognise. He lost his final, but then again he did break his foot like, I think it was like 10 weeks ago or something stupid like that. So he still managed to get into a final and come fourth. But if he's coming fourth, then you can bet your life James Wilby of England will win instead. And sure enough, he did. So yeah, he got the 100-meter breaststroke gold in that. So that was really good. Dame Laura Kenny, she got a gold in the scratch race, I believe. So that was really good. She's won a hell of a lot of goals for us in the past. But yeah, I think in total, if I just have a look, yeah, we are up to 48 medals in total, 19 golds, 7 silvers and 4 bronze. 19 golds, 19 silvers and 10 bronze. I apologise. And we are in second overall behind Australia. So yeah, that is everything I've been watching.
How about you, Shaun? Have you tell us, regale us?
Well, as you two have both brought up sport, I'm going to bring up my sport-adjacent love of wrestling, because, dear God, has this month been an incredible, bizarre month for wrestling. basically, the one you'll have all heard of, WWE, formerly WWF, has been run for 40 odd years by an insane old man called Vince McMahon, who has essentially destroyed wrestling in the West for the past 20 of those years. And it was largely believed that he was never going to relinquish the control he had until he died. But a series of very unpleasant allegations and stories about him have been coming out about his treatment of women who have worked for him, and him using his own money to pay off the women after affairs, but running it through the company for some reason. And he's finally left. Now, this man was in control of almost everything. He booked the shows, rebooking them quite often an hour before they went live on air. He put his man in charge of production, so it looked the way it looked and was as stale as it was, because that was by his design. The way brand sponsorships were integrated through, the fact that a episode of their main TV show had 13 minutes of fucking wrestling on it a few weeks ago, all down to him, the commentators and stuff. So he is gone, and Triple H, a former wrestler and man who was running NXT, which for quite some time was the best wrestling product in America, he has seemingly taken over. And this week's SummerSlam was the first. He was finishing off, obviously, the old man's only been gone a couple of weeks, so he had to finish off those storylines. But there was some huge statements of intent on that show, starting with the first match that wasn't wrestled like a WWE wrestling match, because the style of match and the way matches are put together was all controlled by this guy, so every match was the fucking same. These women went out and did a wrestling match, and then at the end of it, there was a bunch of huge surprises, which were people who were both in the company, believed to have left the company, and recently fired, all coming back saying, right, this is now your big women's division feud on this side. That was all awesome. And it went right through to the end, where Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns had their 307th match this year that nobody cared about. And I'm sure this was planned beforehand, but the way it was filmed and stuff was different. And it ended with Brock Lesnar with a digger literally lifting the ring up to tip the other guy out of it, and all kinds of crazy bollocks. And the thing I took away from this show is I'd been watching WWE as an excuse to hang out with my friend who still liked that. I was getting all of my wrestling joy from other sources, and will continue to do so. But I left this show thinking, holy shit, I think WWE may be watchable again. And it's been several years since I've thought that. I've mentioned on this channel, I watched the WWE pay-per-views. They were on and off there sometimes quite good. But for the most part, it's just been a thing that it's been an excuse to hang out with my mate. And now I'm actually quite interested in where they're going to go. And I don't think they're going to touch the wrestling fan of me who wants actual decent matches the way AEW does. But if they're going to temper, they're going to have better matches and more wrestling, because that's what Triple H wants. But if they're also going to be kind of tying that in with crazy over-the-top bollocks, which WWE has always done quite well, when they're allowed to, you know, if we're getting gimmicks like The Fiend, who was half a horror movie slasher monster and half a children's TV presenter, if we're getting that kind of shit back, then I'm going to watch the hell out of it, and I'm going to have a really great time. And I'm excited for wrestling. I'm excited for more wrestling, which is always a good thing, because I love wrestling, and I don't have the time to follow New Japan in the way I would like. I mean, they're doing the G1 Cup at the minute, and that is, I think it's something like 31 days of 4-hour shows. Day after day after day. I just can't watch that much wrestling. I don't have the time. But the highlight of me watching TV, because as you guys know, I don't watch a lot of TV, and there's nothing I watch particularly religiously. But the highlight of my TV watching week is watching my 2 hours of Dynamite. I fucking love that show. And yeah, if the next few pay-per-views are good, maybe I'll start watching WWE shows as well, and I'll have a bit more good wrestling or enjoyable wrestling to watch. And that has to be a good thing for me.
Excellent.
Damn right.
Indeed. But that's not all I've been watching. That was literally, as we record this, yesterday. I watched that with my mate. But no, the main things I've been watching is I finished the latest season of Stranger Things. Oh, yeah. That was good. I can understand why they split it as two. Don't spoil it for me. No, I'm not. I'm not. No. It's too fresh. I wouldn't say what happened anyway. But I can understand why they split it as two, because they almost wanted two like end of season cliffhangers, and they are both very, very different, and they both work really, really well, to the point that I think if they'd have released it all in one go, I think a lot of people would have been, I probably should have ended it a couple episodes ago though, because that was the big
Yeah.
episode that had the big conclusion. But you needed to do what they did in the further one, because that's setting up it's doing more to set up season 5, which, as we all know, is the conclusion. They're doing a 5th and final season. So I think they, in a very rare occasion, they managed to have their cake and eat it and do a really, really good job. So I commend them for that. I found, since I finished Barry, which is fucking incredible, I can't wait for more of that, I found another show called Mythic Quest, because I've been, on the way into work, I've now been listening to the Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun. Yeah, and they mentioned Mythic Quest a couple of times. I'm like, sounds like something I might be interested in. So I gave it a watch, and I've been quite enjoying it. The idea is, it is the company that makes the world's biggest MMORPG, like online RPG game. So it's, to a degree, a little behind the times when that was in the, when that was the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
From a Western perspective over here, we've not moved on from there. Still loads of people are playing them, but they're not as, to use a phrase, zeitgeisty as they were. But the show's pretty good. It's got a good cast of characters and some quite interesting ideas, because they're telling a story. Although it feels like it feels episodic, but they're clearly using the episodes to build to something. And unlike most things, because I don't really watch things to ship characters or worry too much about that side of things. It's not, it's not a thing I watch a TV show, an action or a comedy for. That's not a part of it. But dear God, there's these two kind of adorkable, I guess you call them, game testers. And they set up in the first episode that one really fancies the other. And then they spend the second episode almost doing the same story from the other one's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So it appears that they're both super into each other, but both have the same misgivings about saying the thing to the other one and not wanting to ruin their friendship. And I'm 100% invested, and I cannot wait for them to get together. Which is very unlike me, but they've done a great job with those characters. But the reason Mythic Quest has struck me so strongly is because they do something really, really clever with the 5th episode, about halfway through season 1. So the first couple of episodes is setting up characters and setting up motivations. And from there, they start showing the cracks in the team. So it starts with everyone relatively together, but they all kind of, there's the frictions and this, that, and the other. And they start slowly bringing them apart. And then the 5th episode is none of the main cast. And it the whole episode goes through this long relationship between these two people meeting in the 80s in a video game store. And one of them has produced a couple of games, and the other one is an avid fan who has a vision for... between a little conversation they broke a little bit of chemistry, and they have a vision for a game. And it charts their relationship over the course of a couple of decades. And
lovely.
And it it isn't. It charts
in my mind it is.
how they make their game and it becomes a success. And from there, one of them, the woman, wants to blindly follow her creative vision, and the producer, the guy who got it, who got someone to put money in the first place and all this, you see it as slowly the gaming industry chips away at him, and he makes little concessions to her vision, and it just follows with she's having to go along with some of it, and then it starts getting to the point with, well, look, now here's quite a big concession, but that's going to lead us to be able to make these other things, and they become this massive game. It's called something like a slow, quiet death, something like that. The original vision is that you are in this huge dark maze, and you've got a torch, and the twist of it is that actually you can't win. No matter what you do, no matter how you progress, eventually these things are going to kill you, and that is it's a metaphor for life and this, that, and the other, and your fears and insecurities and all this sort of stuff. And slowly but slowly, more and more gets taken away to the point that you wind up with a gun. In the first one, you cannot defend yourself. You just have a flashlight. If you point it at the monsters, they will go away for a short period of time. And she didn't even want that in the original vision. And then it goes on, and you see more and more concessions. And as you get into the late 90s, it kind of follows what gaming was doing in the 90s. So it becomes a bit more Resident Evil. So you have a gun and you can shoot the monsters, and then it gets to the point you kill them, and then it gets to like a lot later on, and a movie is being made, and the movie is set in the middle of the day, and it's essentially like the Resident Evil movies, which are like in broad daylight with zombies everywhere, and it's fuck all to do with the games. And then they start bringing this cartoon sidekick, and then it cuts to a point of they have this, before we quite get that far, they have this really, really big argument. And it feels like they've settled their differences, and they've decided to come together, and they've resolved the fracturing relationship that you see coming apart little by little as it all goes on. And then it cuts to the point of the movie, and suddenly the guy is dating the star of the movie, and at this point you find out it's his ex-wife, and these concessions, these little things have completely destroyed them. And then it goes further, and it goes to the point of he doesn't want to give up any more concessions. He realizes what he's done wrong, and this, that, and the other. And of course the game starts to fail, because it's now been relying on all the money it's been getting from all these sources that he's been given the concessions to and everything like that. And then it cuts to later, and it cuts to them chance happening to meet in another gaming store, and they have this conversation, and you realize that actually it's not been clear about how long she's been away, but now she's completely moved on with her life. She's got these couple of games, and all he's left with is these memories and these regrets. And it kind of ends with like a thing of, oh, maybe they can be friends again. And she makes it very clear that actually no, my life has completely moved on from you, and he's just left alone. And it's an incredibly poignant bit of television about these characters who are nothing to do with the show, but it's entirely within the theme of the show, because that's what they've been telling you can happen to your main cast, to your main version of the show. That's the way they're kind of building to. And the very final scene after the end credits is right back when they originally get the couple originally get funding from the game. They manage to pitch it to one guy, and then right at the very, very end, you get a younger Rob McElhenney's main character pitching to that same guy, and he puts up the money for that first one. So it also informs you, even though you've not seen it in the show, that all those little things chipping away at his game are there waiting to descend. Honestly, it was a wonderful piece of television. It needs the rest of I think you could watch it in isolation, and the only thing that would confuse you is perhaps the end. But even that works as a solo little thing of a guy goes in here with his grand vision and everything, and this guy's going to do the same thing to him. It's really, really an excellent bit of television. And the show outside of that is pretty darn good as well. I'm getting towards the end of season 1, so it's starting to drift a bit further from the slightly wacky comedy and the slightly more out there characters to getting much more serious and much more dark. Like, they put that very specifically as episode 5 because that is a tonal shift for the rest of the series. There are a bunch of character revelations that I didn't see coming that have been really, really good and are played up really, really well. So yeah, Mythic Quest, it's on Apple or something, I think.
It's on Apple TV, yeah.
Yeah, if you can watch that, it is really worth a watch. And yeah, I only found it because I'm a huge fan of Sunny in Philadelphia. I've watched all of that, and I started listening to the podcast, and they kind of almost don't mention it. They always call it Mr. Quest. So it took me a little while to figure out what it was. Because it's also, season 1 is called Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet as well, so I wasn't quite sure about that. So I had to Wikipedia it through Rob McElhenney's wiki article. But yeah, that's really, really good.
Also, I do want to watch that.
Yeah, no, I'd really, really highly recommend it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was I saw Thor, and it was all right. I really liked the
the end.
I don't think this worked the way Ragnarok did.
I've got that impression from what I've heard. I've not seen it, but I've got that impression from some reviews.
Yeah, I think the balance of humour is off, and I found the humour a bit more... The first time I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I found the humour much broader and much... it felt more shoehorned in than I thought it did in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, which I've actually over time changed my opinion on. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is actually the far superior movie, as much as I like the first one. But with Thor Ragnarok, I think for the serious themes that it was tackling and everything like that, I found the humour a bit forced. And some of it I found, some of it I actually found quite irritating at points. There were sometimes when you're watching something that's going on about this main character has cancer, and using Mjolnir is this is adapted from a comic book story. Using Mjolnir is rejuvenate, so it's giving her all the powers of Thor, but it's flushing all of the cancer treatments, all the chemical stuff out of her body. So it's removing the thing that she's using to try and fight the cancer. And they never spend 2 minutes of Thor and Jane discussing that. They do like a quirky, cutesy, we're exes, but we clearly still super fancy each other kind of thing. But they never take the time to actually have those characters have an open conversation about what all this means. They do it through quirky comedy and then over the top superheroics, which is fun melodrama, but it's just like, can you not just stop for 5 fucking minutes and actually deal with this quite serious subject matter you've got? It might help kids with something if you just sit and explain what this kind of illness does and what it's like, and give more of a character perspective on why Jane is doing this while she knows it's ultimately damaging her, instead of just, well, she's doing it because now these people are in danger and she wants to be the hero. She's putting them before herself. It's like, that's great, but wouldn't it be more interesting if you'd done something before that to explain that, maybe not giving it like an addiction thing, of doing a thing of, I've got a 50% chance of beating the cancer, but I've got 100% chance of saving these people or stopping this threat or whatever. And then there was the Christian Bale stuff, which was fucking awesome. He was absolutely
I don't know anything about that.
Terrifying as the main villain. There's this wonderful bit, because you've seen all the promos, it's all like bright colours and rainbows and stuff, and he's almost entirely shot in dark, in black and white, to the point that at one point he's effectively got his own planet and there is just an absence of light there, and they have this terrifying like fight against him and the shadows he controls and everything in black and white, and it's all incredibly intense and wonderful. Really, really cool stuff. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed. It was somewhat mixed. I'm also really sick of Marvel movies using their mid-credit scene to introduce another hero we're supposed to care about, but they're actually a D-list hero. Because it's like, it's kind of cool that they're coming, but also, like, you've had me sit through 3 minutes of ads for this. Like, I understand they can't all be Samuel L. Jackson showing out of nowhere and saying, I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. You know, it can't all be that. But I think if you're going to waste 3 to 5 minutes of or 3 to 10 minutes of my time watching these ads, you need something more than, here's this character, we're going to bring you in at some indeterminate point of the future maybe, and it's freaking, yeah, like I say, it's a D-list guy. And like the one they did in this one, I really, really enjoyed a series they had several years ago. It's a very, very fun character, but they're not going to be anything in the MCU, so you're kind of wasting my time in it. And also what they do at the very, very end one, that should have been longer and actually shown something. It reeked of, we're not sure, we know we want to do something next, because obviously we've spent all this time building it, but we're not sure what, so let's leave it really vague. But the whole movie had an editing problem. Me and Mark both noticed it, that it felt like chunks were cut out of scenes, and scenes were either moved around or just like a bit was cut to make a logical leap to get to the next one. It's it's by no means a bad movie, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was particularly good. I enjoyed chunks of it because I enjoy what Marvel does, but as a movie I was very excited for, and after Thor Ragnarok I was really looking forward to. It's meh. It wasn't great.
I'll catch it when it comes on streaming then.
Yeah,
fine.
Absolutely. As you should do with most Marvel movies. Like, because of the volume of content they're putting out, it makes everything less special. There was a point, there were 2 movies a year. You knew they were all building to something, and it was something of an event. But I feel they lost that quite a while ago, and now that they're not buoyed by having Infinity War coming and then Endgame coming, I feel they've lost a step, and and again with the additional content spiraling around it, it now feels like an unfocused series of stuff rather than the thing that's had them going for so long. But by the same token, they did announce everything up to phase 5 or 6, whatever. We're currently in phase 4, so they released a load of stuff that we know is coming, a load of stuff to come later that we knew was coming. Not very much I'm interested in. And then it goes boom, Fantastic Four, boom, question mark, could be the X-Men, boom, Kang Dynasty, boom, Avengers Secret Wars. And we're like, alright, so we just got to get through the next like 3 or 4 years, and then we've got something really fucking awesome coming. I can manage.
You've kind of made sense of something to me, because there's been a lot of complaints online about what are they doing? What they're this phase for? They're just dilly-dallying with different films. And my opinion to that's always been, well, so what? They don't have to build every single time towards something. They can have different films. Why can't you have different stories?
That's the problem. That's the thing they've built into their universe, and that is the reason their universe works. The reason their universe worked is at the end of Iron Man, they said Avengers, and they delivered Avengers. And then as you went through that, they said, it's okay, we're doing Age of Ultron. So you knew one way or another, everything was building to that, and you had Thanos in the background, so you knew sooner or later, we're getting Thanos. And then they had to push that back a little bit to do Infinity War on that, so they did Civil War in the middle. That gave you a big Avengers event. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Their model has always been, this is building to Avengers. And they've not had that, and I can understand why that is making people less interested, especially, again, as I think they're doing a poor job of flooding the market with too much content.
Well, I think that might be it. I think it's the quantity might be the issue, because I think that's it. People get used to a pattern, but there's no need for these films to be connected, and some of the films aren't connected until much, much later. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy one didn't really feature for ages. And
well, Thanos was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
I suppose he was, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first Josh Brolin appearance of him.
Oh, I thought that was at the very end of Avengers, but yeah, okay.
Thanos turns around at the end of that, but that's just CGI.
Well, yeah, I didn't.
They'd not cast him or anything.
What I'm saying is, just because there's a pattern, you don't need to keep a pattern going. There's as you say, there's so many of them. Just enjoy them for individual films. But because there's so many of them, I can see why people would start seeing it as here's a collected thing. But if no one called it,
but that's how they always sold it. They always sold
it.
There was that each individual part is important, and they all come together to tell you why. Now that they've lost that, it doesn't seem as important anymore.
Don't worry about it. Just enjoy the individual episodes. We've had hundreds of years, 100 years of cinema before that where things were one-offs. Just enjoy that.
True, but you've also got but that's not the bill of goods they're selling you. And if they're now telling you that say Shang-Chi, they now say, well, that's just a one-off, it's not important to anything. You can understand why audiences are going, then why do I watch it then? Because they've built their entire thing on it's either all important or none of it is. It's either all leading somewhere or none of it is. And that is the success of their model, but it's also the curse of their model, because I do think I've said this before, I do think critics have a bit of a hive mind of certain things, and I do think critics need to remain relevant in certain eyes, and therefore they will perhaps praise almost uniformly a movie that, were it not in their interests to praise, they wouldn't. I think that's part of the reason why so much of the MCU has such high scores, and Disney in general. It's kind of, I don't think Disney's paying them off or anything like that. I just think there's kind of a groupthink in critic circles of, well, we have to at least praise something that the average person like, because papers are getting less relevant. That's where things are. A lot of film critiquing is moving online into, well, previously the YouTube circles and stuff like that. That's going, personal websites are going away. It's still a grab for relevance, so you still have to praise something people like, or people are, critics, the idea of a film critic, the relevance of that is disappearing. But I think with the cracks starting to show in Marvel, I think we're getting a revolt to a degree, because I don't think Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was anywhere near as bad as critics seem to dislike that. That was the start of the chink. Because I thought Black Widow was a fucking terrible film, and I think Shang-Chi was a rock solid 5 out of 10, thumb in the middle. But I'm very, very, very aware that a lot of my enjoyment of Doctor Strange came from the fact that Sam Raimi made it. I love Sam Raimi, and I was sitting there going, I cannot fucking believe Sam Raimi has just made a proper horror movie in the MCU. This is insane.
I've watched a few review people watching that, and it is they will not get it. They don't understand the film. It's not making any sense to them until they see his name in the credits at the end.
Yeah.
Or like it gets quite very, very dark and that sort of style towards the end. They suddenly go, "Oh, I see what it is now," and sort of backtrack and they reevaluate everything in the beginning of the film. But they up until that point, they're like, "I do not like this." So I liked it all the way through because I knew what I was expecting. But I can see why people wouldn't like it. Yeah,
you know. And I had a special affinity for it because I knew somewhere in it would be Bruce Campbell capering around, and it did not disappoint. But that is what I've been watching. So, well, I'm going to go first on this one. Just a last little thing of what else have we been up to. I dragged my friend to what we believed. Well, to be fair, the website was incredibly vague as to what it was. There was a thing in Ipswich called CapCon, and we thought, oh, this looks quite nerdy and stuff like this. A lot of it's aimed at families and stuff, but, you know, you never know what you're going to get. There could be, you know, it seemed to imply it was quite a large, you know, not massive, but it was like going to have stalls and shit like that and just a bit to walk around and stuff like that. So we didn't pre-book tickets, and we got over there, and, like, it's basically a very small, like, fairground thing, and we were just like, oh, okay, well, like, it's cool, all the kids are in costume, they're clearly having a nice time, like, let's just not spend the £8, and this is clearly, like, not aimed at, this is not aimed for us, this is aimed for the kids, so let's just fuck off. So we went to the pub instead. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but you never know unless you go to these things, and like I said, there was nothing on the website to suggest it was basically a small fair for little kids dressed up as their favourite comic book and movie characters and stuff. But yeah, it looked like a lovely time. If I was a kid, I would have just been having the absolute fucking best time, I tell you that.
nice.
But for the most part, that's the only interesting thing I've done this month. I don't know if we'd recorded the last... by the last Dinocast, I'd done my inflatable 5K, which was running around a bunch of inflatable giant bouncy castle things. That was a blast. But, yeah, that's what I've been up to. Adam, what about you?
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I went to Secret Cinema. To watch Dirty Dancing.
Did you have the time of your life?
Oh, my God.
I bloody well did. I went with...
Did you carry Watermelon?
I went with John.
No.
Our other Dinocast member.
You sure you didn't mean to do the
up?
Guardians of the Galaxy one?
No, we did this one. We went as a four. I took my wife, and John took a lady friend. And yeah, I tell you what, Secret Cinemas. It doesn't matter what you're going to see at a Secret Cinema, you are always going to have a blast because it's just the way they do it is absolutely fantastic. So you enter and all the people there are in character already, you know, even the people leading you through the door, you know, that they've got the American accent type thing of like Dirty Dancing, you know, that like their sort of, this is, it's almost meta because it's like this is their job, like on the camp type thing, and that's how the whole set is as well. It's done out as the camp, and then you got the lodge and all stuff like that going on. And then they tell you right at the beginning, if you go round to near the back and just mention that Johnny sent you, or that I carried the melons. to the guy there. He'll let you into the staff only party. So I don't know if you've ever seen the film, but I'm assuming you have.
Yeah.
There's a bit in the film where Baby gets into the staff only sort of party that's going on, and that's the whole thing that they set out in the beginning. And there's not like one set time to do it either. They'll run this sort of about 10 times before the movie. So if you've missed one, like, you can always pop back and get it again, and then they lead you into like this actual club where they play out the scene from the movie, where Baby's in there and they're dancing and all stuff like that, and that was absolutely fantastic. And then you get to have like a little dance and stuff. Everyone's in costume as well. Everyone's sort of glammed up to that style. And you got to pick a family as well. These were made up families, they weren't in the actual film, but we chose to be the Coopers, and they were all sporty, so we had to go in like all tennis type gear.
Lovely.
So that was quite fun. I got a new pair of trainers out of it, so I didn't care. That was great. And they did like dance classes everywhere as well. So there was like this guy teaching you how to do the rumba, or there was a guy teaching how to do like a jazz dance, or ballroom, or whatever, loads of different dances, as they do in the film. Like, in the film, Baby takes dancing classes.
Yeah.
So they play that out as well. And then there's the bit in the lodge where Johnny and his partner are doing like this real sort of raunchy type of dance, and then the owner is like putting his hand to his throat to like say, cut this out now. They play that scene out as well. That's there. And then after all this, they get to the actual showing of the movie, and it's the biggest screen I've ever seen in my life. I could have, like, to view it, I would have thought, right, this is easily a projection. But John is quite tech savvy, and he turned around and said, there's no way that's a projection, that is LED screen. And it was like massive, this thing, absolutely massive. And it was the backdrop to a stage, and they had like a little balcony on the edge. And as the movie's being played, they're playing out scenes from the movie live as you're watching the film. And it's great. So at the beginning, where Baby arrives with their family in that really nice car of that, I don't know the car. I'm not up on my cars really, but just a really nice old car. And that car actually drives down the centre of everyone watching, with the actors in it, and drives to the stage, and then they start dancing. They get up and they do the dance scene, and then of course right near the end where they do the lift, they did that live on stage as well, and of course everyone was in uproar, and just the whole thing about, even down to the food, all the food is themed around Dirty Dancing, and it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. I managed to buy one of them. You always see them in American camps or schools with those jackets on, with that style of jacket, with like their
the letter jacket.
With a letter.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that,
Yeah.
Then they got the college name written on the back and stuff like that, and the emblem on the front. I brought one of those, so that was quite cool. I finally got me one of them. Yeah, it was just, the whole thing was absolutely fantastic.
And you'll be back in November for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, if I can get tickets, definitely. But yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic the way they do it, and the person that put me onto it is of course you, Jason, because we went to go see Back to the Future for your stag, didn't we? So that was
It may well have been Shaun that put me onto that, to be honest.
Oh, there you go.
I think it was Shaun.
It was.
I don't remember now, but yeah. Yeah, well, I can see how, because that also had like cars driving around and playing out scenes at the same time, which I was very impressed by.
Yeah.
And I could see the Dirty Dancing would fit quite well with what they could put on, because that's obviously all set within one sort of summer camp, which is quite based around hospitality anyway. And so there's a lot of things they could have easily incorporated without going too much out of, making it different from the original thing. So I could see that working quite well.
And
I've
they
done
did
3 secret cinemas, and they've all been absolutely fantastic and very different from each other as well.
Yeah.
So what have you done?
I did Back to the Future with you.
Yeah.
I did Blade Runner with Mark, and I did Casino Royale with my dad.
I knew someone did Bond. I couldn't think who it
It
was.
was so fucking good.
Yeah, I bet. Did they do that little thing with your phone where they put it in like this pouch, so you can't?
Yes. Yeah.
So you can't take photos and stuff. I thought that was a really clever idea, because you haven't got to lock your phone away in some locker. Like you
'cause
actually get to take it with you.
I think the first one we did was the first one we did. They actually did take our phones.
Yeah, that was a locker. You had to put it in a locker. And I
all the
wasn't
ones
too
since
comfortable with that.
they've just kind of used that black wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, it just stops all you getting into it, because it's got that little lock that can only be unlocked by their keys. Magnetic, I'm assuming.
I do understand why they do that, though, because that would kind of
absolutely
break the atmosphere. If everyone set in this 1950s, 60s scenario is walking around with a mobile, a smartphone, it kind of
recording
breaks the immersion a
everything,
bit.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Taking photos when they do the live action, people doing the actual movie. Yeah, it'd suck.
They had sports going on in there as well. So, for example, at like these lodge camps, and you do see glimpses of it in the film, where there's like the beanbag race, and like the egg and spoon race, and like they're getting all the parents and people involved. So that was the whole idea of picking a family before you went. So you pick a family, and whoever's family got the most points out of doing all this game wins the whole thing, type thing. To be honest, I was too engrossed in what was going on with the film to actually hear who won. But you could go along to like these like egg and spoon and sack races, and they had like beach volleyball and all sorts of things. They had like the sack, where you got to like throw the sack in like these holes at the ends.
Oh
yeah.
That old-fashioned game. Yeah, I forget what that's called now. But yeah, they had that, and they had like the old-fashioned Skittles, and they had. I thought this particular thing that was going on, I thought that it was just a real drunken like party, just picked some props up and created this game. This was how ridiculous it was. So you had these 3 women who are holding these brooms between their legs, pretending to be horses, running around this track and jumping over obstacles. And initially when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, like people are really getting into this. They created their own games. And then as I walked on, this staff member was obviously going, oh, what family are you with? You must be the Coopers. Why don't you give the horse racing a try? And I was like, oh, that's an actual game, right, okay. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Can't recommend. If you get a chance to go to Secret Cinema, or someone offers you a ticket to go to Secret Cinema, go, take it, pay it. Like
100% agree. It's worth it. I think it's about £100 a go now, but honestly, it's worth every penny. Especially if you're super into the movie. If you want to be immersed in that world or whatever, it's
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Jason, have you been up to anything?
No, bugger all.
Well, with that then, we shall draw this extra-sized Dinocast to a close. Adam, what is the super secret special word that they must put in all correspondence with us?
Well, if they've listened this long, how about Johnny and Baby from Dirty Dancing, obviously.
Fair enough. Okay. And if they are not, in fact, having listened to this properly, they can then go for Jane and Odinson from Thor Love and Thunder. So, yeah. You've got the phrase that you must use to prove that you've listened to other things. You've got the phrase that you must not use to prove you're a dirty liar and you haven't listened to any of the podcasts whatsoever, even though you somehow have those words. Goodbye from me, and goodbye from Adam and Jason.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye.